As we speak, New York City is about to begin painting the words Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue in front of Trump Tower. That's a live shot of Fifth Avenue. Donald Trump complained about that on Twitter today, calling the words Black Lives Matter, quote, a symbol of hate. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio responded directly to Trump, saying, here's what you don't understand. Black people built Fifth Avenue and so much of this nation for which they have never been justly compensated. We are honoring them. The fact that you see it as denigrating your street is the definition of racism. Also today, Donald Trump threatened to veto a defense spending bill that includes military pay raises because it contains, at this point, an amendment by Senator Elizabeth Warren, which has bipartisan support, to change the names of military bases named after Confederate soldiers who committed treason and waged a losing war against the United States of America to preserve slavery. This has always been a simple issue for me. I've always been opposed to monuments to Confederates who committed treason and fought to preserve slavery. I didn't think I needed to read another article about the subject because my mind had been made up so many years ago, and I hadn't really seen many new angles on the subject in a long time. And then came Caroline Randall Williams' stunning op-ed piece in Sunday's New York Times under the arresting headline, "You want a Confederate monument? My body is a Confederate monument." Caroline Randall Williams has been educated at two of the oldest and richest universities in the world, Harvard and Oxford. She is a teacher who has taught in two of our poorest states, Mississippi and West Virginia. She is also an award-winning poet, and her article in the Times combines the emotional power of poetry with precise prose that is, at the same time, excruciatingly painful and brilliantly illuminating. It is the most powerful piece of writing about Confederate monuments that I have ever read. I'm going to read some of this article before Caroline Randall Williams joins our discussion. And I warn you that some of this is deeply, deeply shocking and painful because slavery is and always should be deeply shocking. Caroline Randall Williams wrote, "I have rape-colored skin. My light brown blackness is a living testament to the rules, the practices, the causes of the Old South. If there are those who want to remember the legacy of the Confederacy, if they want monuments, well, then my body is a monument. My skin is a monument. I am a black Southern woman, and of my immediate white male ancestors, all of them were rapists. My very existence is a relic of slavery and Jim Crow. I am the descendant of black women who were domestic servants and white men who raped their help. White Southern men, my ancestors, took what they wanted from women they did not love, over whom they had extraordinary power, and then failed to claim their children. My body and blood are a tangible truth of the South and its past. The black people I come from were owned by the white people I come from. The white people I come from fought and died for their lost cause. And I ask you now, who dares to tell me to celebrate them? Who dares to ask me to accept their mounted pedestals? The man-made monuments must come down. I defy any sentimental Southerner to defend our ancestors to me. I am quite literally made of the reasons to strip them of their laurels. Caroline Randall Williams joins us next. The dream version of the Old South never existed. Any manufactured monument to that time in that place tells half a truth at best. The ideas and ideals it purports to honor are not real. Those are the words of Caroline Randall Williams in her extraordinary article in the New York Times entitled, "You Want a Confederate Monument? My Body is a Confederate Monument." Joining us now is Caroline Randall Williams, writer in residence at Vanderbilt University. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I've been so eager to talk to you from the moment I first held your article in my hands, reading the first sentences. It is just so arresting, as I think you know, as a writer. It just it's not something anyone can turn away from. It's a concept I have not heard advanced before, that you are yourself a Confederate monument. When did you begin to see it and think that way?
I think that the idea really came from, the question of the monuments as somebody who grew up in Tennessee and then went to school in Mississippi for graduate school. And I also did Teach for America in Mississippi. So the monuments are everywhere. And you think, how can they not have been torn down yet? And then I actually started to think about, the descendants of Nazis and how the German, that this sort of German public stance on their monuments has been so to put them in their rightful place in museums and never forget and not dignify them, but utilize them as a tool to remember what not to do. And one of the most powerful elements of that is the descendants of former Nazi soldiers renouncing their ancestors. And I thought, why are there no Southerners doing this? And then I thought, I have Confederate ancestors. I will do it because I'm a Black woman and I will lead the way like we always do.
I want to read you something that Donald Trump retweeted, a video of Mitch McConnell saying this. And this is Mitch McConnell's words. Americans know that an imperfect nation built by imperfect heroes is still the most perfect union the world has ever seen. And when the dust settles, it is never, never the mobs or bullies whom we honor. What is your reaction to that?
Apart from the sort of staggering hypocrisy, I think putting the Confederate soldiers within the framework of any language about American heroism is fundamentally inaccurate speaking in the first place. The Confederate soldiers were not Americans at the time that they were fighting on behalf of the Confederate States of America. They had declared themselves in revolt against the United States, which makes them American enemies, not American heroes in the first place. And I think that to me is sort of the mind-boggling rewriting. If you want to talk about rewriting history, people say taking down the monuments is rewriting history. I say calling Confederate soldiers who were treasonous traitors to their country American heroes. I think that is a rewriting of history.
Having grown up in the South around these monuments your whole life, are you at a point where you are surprised that it is finally happening, or surprised that it took so long and you expected it to happen sooner, that we're seeing so many of them come down?
I think I'm interested to see what it yields beyond just taking them down. In Mississippi, taking it down doesn't mean anything until they actually take it all the way down, not just move it to someplace else. And so I think if we actually get them down, it'll mean some laws were rewritten, and that's a real change. And I yearn for it. That's all I can say. I hope that America can figure out how to actually enact necessary change. And I think that we're in a time of revolution and evolution, and so maybe it will work.